Welcome to understand SDG 14, Life Below Water. Conserve and sustainably use our oceans. Let's review about SDG 14 achievements.
Our oceans are in real trouble, and today we're going to look at one particular coastline that's right on the edge. And its story tells us so much about the global fight to save life below water. It's a story about a crisis, yeah, but also, maybe, a last-minute chance to turn things around. 470 million gallons. I mean, just try to wrap your head around that number for a second. That's the amount of raw, untreated sewage pouring from just one city, Karachi, straight into the Arabian Sea. And we're not talking per year or even per month. We're talking every single day. This number isn't just a shocking statistic. It's ground zero for the massive challenge we're about to unpack. So to really get the big picture here, we need to zoom out for just a moment, because this isn't just one country's problem. Nope, this is a frontline and a huge global effort. And that global effort has a name, Sustainable Development Goal 14, or SDG 14 for short. Its whole mission is to protect our oceans from the exact kind of threats we're talking about. Pollution, sure, but also overfishing and the destruction of marine habitats. You can think of it as the world's game plan for a healthy ocean. Okay, so let's bring it back from that global game plan to our case study. Pakistan's 1,000-kilometer coastline, a really critical piece of the Arabian Sea. So why should we care? Why does this matter so much for Pakistan? Well, because the Arabian Sea isn't just a bunch of water. It's a lifeline. It's the engine for the economy, a source of food for millions, and it's a critical shield against climate change. The health of this ocean is literally woven into the country's ability to survive. But that lifeline is snapping, and it's snapping badly. The country is dealing with what you can only really call a three-headed monster of a threat to its entire marine world. And let's be crystal clear. Threat number one, the biggest and baddest of them all, is pollution. When it comes to meeting its SDG 14 goals on this, Pakistan's failure has been, well, it's been severe. Now, check this out, because this table shows how these aren't just separate problems, they're all tangled up together. You've got pollution creating these coastal dead zones through something called a eutrophication, which is basically when you dump so many nutrients in the water that algae goes crazy, blooms, and sucks all the oxygen out of the water, killing everything. Then, at the same time, decades of just reckless overfishing have completely wrecked fish populations. And to top it all off, critical ecosystems are being literally choked to death. See how each crisis just makes the others worse? It's a vicious cycle. And let's get specific about what overfishing really looks like here. It's not just about taking too many fish. It's the methods they use. We're talking about these super fine nets that catch everything, including all the baby fish, basically wiping out the next generation before it even has a chance. And bottom trawling, that's literally like dragging a giant bulldozer across the seafloor, destroying coral, habitats, everything. This isn't just fishing. It's the systematic dismantling of the entire marine food web. And this right here is another crucial part of the story. The Indus Delta has the world's largest arid climate mangroves. They're totally unique, and they're so important, but they are getting hit by a devastating 1-2 punch. Toxic pollution flowing in from one side, and not enough fresh water coming down the Indus River from the other. That makes the sea way too salty for them to survive. Okay, so I know this all sounds incredibly grim. Decades of damage just piling on top of more damage. But, and this is a really big but, the story doesn't end there in total disaster. We're actually at a pivot point, a moment where all that neglect might, just might, finally be turning into real action. And this timeline shows you that exact turning point perfectly. You see decades of mismanagement and resources just getting drained. But then, boom, July 2025. A major national meeting happens, and it kicks off the creation of brand new policies designed to tackle this crisis head-on over the next 10 years. So what's the big deal with these new policies? You can see the difference right here, side by side. It's a total 180. In the past, you had depleted fish stocks. The new goal is to actually regulate harvesting. Where you had illegal fishing running wild, the goal is to finally get it under control. And this is huge. Where those destructive nets were everywhere, the goal is an outright ban. This is the first real modern attempt to get the country's policies in line with SDG 14. It's a completely different way of thinking. And that brings us right to the heart of it all. After seeing the incredible depths of this crisis, but also this new glimmer of hope with these policies, where does that leave Pakistan's coastline? This quote from the analysis we've been looking at just nails it.
A crossroads. It's that one moment in time where the future isn't set in stone and there are two very, very different paths you can take. So if you take one thing away from this explainer, let it be this. The damage is catastrophic. There's no way to sugarcoat that. It's really, really bad. But for the first time in a long time, there's a serious, modern framework on the table to stop the bleeding and, hopefully, start the incredibly long road to recovery.
But you know, a plan on paper is one thing. Actually turning the tide for an entire ecosystem that's dying, that's going to take a huge amount of political will, and it's got to be done perfectly. So the really big question we're left with is, can new policies alone be enough to save a dying sea? The answer to that is still out there, in the water.
Thanks for your time to learn, earn, and lead. This is Mohammad Zishan Awan, Advocate High Court. To join Vision 2047, please register with us and be part of the transformation.